are, guys. We are so excited to talk to you about business blogging. Some of you are probably wondering, like, what in the world is business blogging and why would I do it for my tutoring business? So we're going to be talking all about that today. I have two amazing people that are joining us. We've got Suzanne Davis in the house. Woo woo. She is one of the coaches with the Online Tutor Coach, and she also really dived in pretty early in her career, right on into blogging, and she inspires so many tutors with the advice and the tips that she gives on how you can utilize it with your tutoring business. We also have Esme Lozano in the house, the best online reading tutor in the world. Woo woo. And she is here to share about how she's been using blogging too. She specifically has worked with Suzanne, and both of these amazing ladies have carved out time from their tutoring business to share information about blogging with you. So if you have any questions about blogging, feel free to put them in that chat. We want to be able to answer those questions. And I just want to say, Holly, welcome. So glad that you are here. And Tibise, we're so glad that you are here as well. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to jump on in and see what it is that we have to say about business blogging. Oh, so glad to be here. All right. So I'm going to start with Suzanne here. Suzanne, tell us more about your tutoring business and why you decided to start blogging.
Well, my business is for academic writing for high school and college students. And I just dove into blogging because from the very beginning, I learned really that there were the short-term strategies that you did to get students and then the long-term strategies. And in the beginning, I had a lot of time for those long-term strategies. And during that time, I learned about blogging. I took courses in blogging, and I thought this is how I can connect with people best, and so I just dove in. I did that thing where you're not quite supposed to, you're supposed to have 2 or 3 blog posts all in the mix, before you launch and start blogging. No, I just started, with my one blog post and then every week just, okay, let me go through this until I got much better at it. And it's been great because I've been able to build, I know for a lot of people, this just will sound a little bit technical, especially if you're in the beginning, but to build an email list. Which is that list of people that you can keep in contact with. You can let them know about your latest content. These are people that are likely to buy from you. And so it really helped me lay that foundation and keep going. Yeah. And now I don't advertise. So that's a really cool thing.
That is really cool. So blogging is the really big thing that gets you to be able to be found, and people then contact you and they move into that sales process where you have the free consultation, and then some of them turn into clients.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Awesome. Did you guys just hear that? This is her bread and butter. This is what works, you guys. That is awesome. And I'm so grateful to you, Suzanne, that you share what you know all about blogging. It's impossible for one person to know absolutely everything about every single thing about, how to market your business, right? And we really have some hot pocket people that just know so much. Esme with her Instagram, and Suzanne with her amazing blogging. It's incredible. And you guys are soon going to hear in a couple of weeks all about Jessica and her video editing skills and all of this great stuff. It's so great to have people that they dive into one area that they just love, and they put their heart and soul in it, and they can share that wisdom and that gold that they've learned from the process, so that you can skip making those mistakes that they've made, and you can get greater success right out of the gate. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our community, Suzanne.
I love it. I love it. I get so excited when people want to dive into blogging.
Yeah. And you love writing. So it just makes sense. Writing, I would expect that people would want to see, what does your writing look like? That's part of their way to be able to judge you before they work with you. It's that no like trust thing, right?
Exactly. And the more content you build with, and for me, it's mostly blogging, the more people see you as an expert.
Right.
They feel like they know you, they trust you, and that's how they really become your clients over the long term. Because there's two types of people who visit your website, really. There's the people who are visiting and they know they need a tutor and they want to hire a tutor.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other people coming to your website because they've found you somewhere else. For me, a lot of it would be they'd find me initially on Pinterest.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be, how to write a research paper, and that would be a problem they have.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go to that website and, they read and they learn about that. They're not yet ready for a tutor, but they sign up, they get on my email list.
Mm-hmm.
And once they go through, and Joanne does an excellent job teaching about email writing. Once they go through a sequence, that's usually where I get them as clients.
I love it. I think that's amazing. Once we put like these best practices in place, it makes getting clients so much easier, new students so much easier. And I know that nobody wants to do this the hard way. Sometimes you got to do things to learn them and put them into action. But seriously, you guys, if you are a professional tutor and you want to be able to get students, this is a valid strategy. Business blogging is real. You're going to love it. And before we tell you more about it, we're just going to introduce Esme Lozano. As I mentioned, she is the best online reading tutor. And she laughs because it's like, Joanne, you're pretty darn good yourself, I don't advertise my reading tutoring services. So I can totally wholeheartedly say Esme is the best because I am still tutoring, but I am so booked solid. I don't even need to get the word out there. So booked. I have a waiting list. So, which is awesome. It is awesome. I get to really shine you guys out and not even worry about advertising my tutoring business. But you started blogging. Tell us about a little bit more about your tutoring business and why you decided to start doing some blogging.
Well, when I started the Jumpstart program, when I went in during the pandemic or the beginning of the pandemic, I went through the Jumpstart program. And one of the things that we do is we set up a website. And you think as a tutor and as a business that just because you published your website, which was terrifying to click on publish, that there are going to be millions of people just, traffic going through to your website, but it's not like that. And so I quickly learned that I needed to drive traffic and be intentional about getting people to my website. And of course, I learned that through the Jumpstart program. And then got exposure to blogging and thought, okay, I'm doing this on a monthly basis. I need someone speaking to me about it because I wanted to be intentional. And I felt like I really needed to develop a voice, a conversational voice, which is very different to the type of writing that we're used to doing. So that was kind of a big challenge, switching from academic writing to blogging type of writing. And it wasn't just like, oh, I feel I'm going to talk about what I ate today or my opinion on something. Now I needed to target a specific audience. And so it's kind of a mind shift on how to write. And so it takes time. I know it's taken me time to shift and find my voice. And then you start to adjust, who am I speaking to? Maybe I thought I was speaking to this group at the beginning when I started my business. Now that I'm fully booked, now that I'm working with a lot of clients online, I'm hearing their problems and their struggles. And so I'm getting more refined about what I want to speak to. So Suzanne's done that for me and she's been wonderful. Love you, Suzanne. And, if, I know there's a lot of jump starters maybe that are going to be watching this. As soon as you get through Jumpstart, come on to blogging because like Suzanne was saying, you want to layer your business. There's the immediate gratification of getting students maybe through social media perhaps, but you want to be well-rounded as a business. Mm-hmm. And like any other big business, they don't just use one avenue of advertisement right? Once you build that, like Joanne says, I don't even need to advertise for reading anymore because I am known for it, and you're booked, and you have people on a waiting list. But until you get to that place, I feel like you need to create content, and content that speaks directly to the audience that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do such a great job with that. And there's even things that you do with repurposing some of that into, Instagram posts. And it doesn't always have to, like there's so many different things and pieces that you can grab that you can make it all work together versus it feeling like it's all these separate entities of your marketing. And I love how you said that.
Suzanne's helped me do better post creation without even knowing it, because it's like, get to the point, like be very concise. And so the blogging has helped my Instagram posts and social media posts as well. Mm-hmm.
I love
cool.
it.
I had no idea.
Surprise! An added bonus.
I know. Oh my gosh, Suzanne, you touch so many people's lives in such a positive way. And sometimes we don't get to hear about it until later or on these calls, right? Or other ways. And I know that so many people appreciate what you do inside of our community. It's absolutely amazing. So this is a question, like either of you can kind of pipe on in and answer this, but what's the difference between people that want to like monetize a blog and business blogging?
Okay, well, business blogging, you do want to monetize it in some way because you want to attract people, right? So it's just that you're monetizing it through services, through getting people on your email list, or they see your content and it's great. There are people who do affiliate marketing. That's not as big anymore, but people still do it. And that's where you would write a post about particular topic, like maybe top 5 resources on how to do something, and then you might have a few advertisers that you recommend in there with special links. So sometimes people mean that as monetizing a blog, but that's still business, right? That's still a sort of business. And for people who are selling digital products like books or courses and things like that, they blog, and it's business blogging, but they're also monetizing it in a way. They're using it to gain that audience again, just like with services. And
for us, monetizing is getting students, right?
Yeah,
so that's our goal ultimately, to write blogs that attract people. Like for me, a parent who's looking for ways to improve reading for their child who's struggling, and I'm going to give them key strategies. And they might try them and say, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm going to let someone else do it. Oh, I read this article or this blog at Esme's website, and I'm going to look into her. So that's really how I think of it, as monetizing, that I'm helping people, and some people can run with things and make them and implement them. And some people say, I have more money than time. So I'm there to, that's how I monetize it, getting students.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And some people monetize with ads. I've never added ads onto my blog. I feel like it kind of junks it up a bit and it veers people away. I want only people seeing my stuff and being able to take that call to action that I want them to specifically be taking to as well. We've got Holly back in the house. Remember Holly, Suzanne?
Yes, I remember Holly. Hi, Holly.
I love Holly. Holly's amazing. So Holly said that she still is teaching TOEFL and IELTS. She's bookmarked your site, Suzanne, so that she can get a better idea at how to teach writing. She said, I hope that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Of course that's okay. That's flattering.
That is awesome. And I know lots of people do have the same question that Anjana has. Anjana says, I've never been a good writer. Can I still blog? And we actually have a special training that's going to be coming on up Monday. And I'm going to put I have the wrong link inside of there. I'm just going to grab the link real quick for you so that you can see that. It is this one, and I'm going to bring you back to my here, guys, so I can just grab that link. I'm going to put that right inside of there, and it is called How to Become an Effective Blogger Even If Writing Isn't Your Thing. So like we're totally addressing your whole entire issue. And here's the thing, I think sometimes when people hear that Suzanne is a writing tutor and that she is now blogging, it seems like such a natural fit. But I think you're going to be surprised to hear Suzanne's story about what was the difference for her and, you know, as she jumped from academic writing to the blog writing. So what was your journey like through that, Suzanne?
Well, I had to learn it like from the beginning. It's a completely different genre, right? Because the words that you're using, you want them to be a lot easier to understand. You're writing directly to a person. So one of the things about blogging is a lot of times you use the second person. So that's where you say you a lot, right? And in academic writing, that's an absolute no-no. Like, don't do that at all. It sounds like you're shouting at people, you know, that's what they tell you. And then with blogging, it's about when you use that second person, you're almost having a conversation with them and connecting with them. So it's very different. You don't have to have the same level of, you know, complicated vocabulary. In fact, that would probably hurt you. So I had to learn to be a little bit more direct. I had to study how to write a blog post because it's just, you know, it's not like I learned at school how to write. It's different.
Blogs didn't exist when we went to school.
No, they didn't. No. And I remember some of the essay and like research paper rules that were drilled into me. And, you know, I felt, you know, I learned those that way.
Yeah. In fact, I think if someone,
this is not that.
I think if someone, I'm going to give an analogy. My brother-in-law was a policeman and he wanted to be on the mounted unit, which is riding the horse, and policemen. And they didn't want anyone to apply who already thought they knew how to ride a horse, because they were going to have a hard time training them. And I think if you think you're not a good writer, blogging might be just perfect and easy transition, because you're not trying to break out of the academic writing as much like we are, where we teach writing and you're trying to think differently. So it might be that you already have a conversational voice that you can tap into, perhaps.
Yeah. And conversational writing has actually always been my strength versus the other way around. And actually, when I was even doing academic papers, my teachers would be like, wow, your voice sounds so different from everyone else. I'm like, really? Like, it's just the way I talk.
Yeah, the blogging voice is different. It is more conversational. I like to think of when I'm blogging, because I'm blogging to high school students and college students. Well, how would I explain this to them? Obviously, I'm not going to use all of my teacher education lingo, all of that jargon. So if I'm in a classroom, what am I going to say? And then figuring out how to format that and do a lot of the different things. But you'll find some of the...
They're not connected? Okay, well, let me see if I can get into here.
Rules that we had to deal with.
All right.
So yeah, so it's definitely, yay, Joanne, you're back.
Yeah. So we lost electricity.
No.
We are back. And I apologize if you guys had anything really awesome and we
was
missed
awesome.
it. I bet it was. So I'm just logging into all of my settings here. We're still streaming, so we were talking about really the difference between that whole blogging and academic writing. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that?
I would just add that break out of that sense of like the 5-paragraph or just your regular essay format when you're blogging. You know, it's not like here's my conclusion where I summarize and all of that. You know, it's different. And I think if you want to get a really good feel for blogging and how you don't have to have like this super educational language, read some blogs.
Yeah,
you'll see that the writing is probably a lot more conversational and a lot easier to come up with.
Yeah. I think
More
that's really good
digestible.
advice too. Like if you want to know how to write in a certain style, you should read that genre.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
the truth about
That's
any writing.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that will definitely help as you start thinking about, well, you have to almost like start crafting your own voice. Like what will that sound like? What are words? And some things that you guys, if you're struggling with finding your voice, record yourself and dictate and see what words come on up. What are some words that you start noticing that are coming on up that you say when you're talking that maybe don't come up when you're writing, that you leave out, and that can help you with adding a little bit more of your voice on inside of there. Now I wouldn't add like bruh in there. Oh my gosh, I can't stand that. Everybody's bruh. Now my kids in the UK are saying it too. Bruh. I'm like, it sounds like bra to me. Like, guys, come on.
I think like what Suzanne does with the free writing, where she gives us a set time to write and not think, like just get the ideas out, is a wonderful exercise for me to not overthink. And like, what would I say about this particular topic if I was just asked about it? And so, yeah, that has really freed me from that mental block, because they are mental blocks.
Yeah.
Free writing is just wonderful to develop a writing voice because you're not censoring yourself. You're not worrying about sounding really good. And you do tap into really how you express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as you free
see
write,
it evolves
yeah.
over time. I would, even when I'm teaching my writing students, we do a lot of free writing, and it's like just this miracle thing that helps them develop a writing voice. I don't even feel like I'm teaching at that point.
As you free write, I feel like what happens is you keep saying a lot of the same things, but you say them better every time somehow. And then you go, oh, this is the one I need to put in there. Like this is more concise and clear and more like conversational. So that's the one thing that I found when I would go back to my free writing with you. I would go, oh, look at this. What a fabulous sentence, and how clear it is. And forget the other 10 times that I said it in my writing. So that's why I say it helped with my Instagram writing, because it was like, get to the point. Come on, get to the point and be clear. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And what's so fun is I had just found that the more that I've been writing, the better I get. Have you guys kind of found that too?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's amazing how it happens.
Your emails are very conversational, Joanne.
Yeah,
like it would be hard for me to delete. Like, I receive a lot of other things, and it's just like when I'm like, oh, it's Joanne, like she's talking to me, So it's really that. It's creating that voice where you're talking to a friend and you're being real with them about the different issues that you're dealing with and whatever your topic is that you teach or subject that you teach. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm. It is. So how do you guys come up with things to write about for your blog?
My students.
Nice.
And when I have assessments with parents, the things that they're saying are their struggles. I really take notes in trying to incorporate that into my social media, into my blogging. So that's why I feel like once you have your students, you really need to like tune into what parents are saying at that initial moment when they meet you, the frustration they're feeling and the feelings that they're expressing to you. Like, we know there's a list of pain points that we could just go to and find a good one. But when you hear it from an actual parent, then you can give it some context, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that's the difference too between that tutor that is kind of doing this as a side hustle and a tutor that's doing this as a profession. Because when you start doing it as your profession, you start learning how can I market myself so much more effectively. And you start looking at things from the pain points and the problems that your ideal client is having versus making like everything a big issue. You're like, okay, how can I solve this? How can I be the solution for this? Or how can I do that? And now you're looking at it from a whole different point of view, and they can hear you. Because they can see that you're coming at it from their point of view. Like, okay, this person gets what I'm going through. That empathy shines through, and they want to be able to work with you. Suzanne, how do you come up with your topics?
Well, a lot of it originally, and even still, I would think of like, what are the things I've taught, in a classroom. So because I taught at the college level, I think of the semester. Well, at the beginning of the semester, there's these issues, and then, in the middle, there's these things. And I would start doing keyword research, which I don't want to get into here. But that would mean looking up those things and seeing, are people searching for information? Because you do want to write about things that people are actually looking for. And Google and keyword research help to do that. And then I would just start writing about them as if, I'm working with that person. Yeah. So that was a way, also thinking about seasonal things.
Sure.
That you can tap into, whether it's a particular holiday or just with the seasons, like summer tutoring, you want to start writing about the summer and the things that people can be doing to help their children with reading over the summer and all of those things. You try and think through the year too. But I love
the big events, right? Like the pandemic, that was big topics to talk about. Switching from
current
online,
events, yes,
inline to online. I see that because that was very big, and we all had that in common. So
yeah, for sure. And I think that if you think about like what are the trends right now, like what are big trends that you can talk about within your industry, what are things that your students struggle with, and you can tap into the success stories of your students from like beginning to end, almost like a case study. Those kinds of things I would expect to be really great topics to kind of write about. And really, if you just like write down those 3 topic ideas, and when ideas come to you, you place that idea, you save those ideas, and then voila, you have something to write about.
Because I have students who have improved and grown in grade levels. I mean, 1 to 2 grade levels from moving from in-person to online. So that's definitely a topic to hit. Like you're living it, you're doing it, you see it, and you don't think, hey, other people need to hear that. And I'm finding also another topic that I see developing is a lot of students are thriving online. There are some that are not, but there are many who are struggling in person school, going to school, and online, they love it and they're doing so well. And I have one in particular who's very conscientious, is on top of everything, and emails he was diagnosed with dyslexia. This little boy doesn't think twice to email his teacher. Oh, I'll ask him a question. Well, what was the assignment? He goes, oh, let me ask her. I don't, because we're not clear on it. And he just starts typing away. So I'm like, wow, he has taken ownership of his education. So in his situation, it helps. So those are like topics that I need to write about because they're big.
Yeah.
Right. And people could be in that situation and could see the benefit from hearing someone's case study or situation.
Yeah. And there's so many times where people hear the negative, right? They'll hear one story of the negative and they keep like talking about that one. Oh, like online doesn't work, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Online schooling and online tutoring are 2 completely different things. So even if your student is struggling with online schooling, that's not the platform's fault. It's that, you've got a teacher standing in front of the classroom who is taped off. Like my students, my kiddos at their school, the teachers are taped off. They can't even interact with the students in the classroom. And then they have a camera. How much interaction's happening with either A, the kids in that classroom, and B, how easy is it to forget about those kids that are online? Yes, you put the assignments on there, but now they're just kind of having to sit there. There's nothing to keep their attention. How easy is it to space out? Like in some cases, it's a really terrible situation. And in others, it's a great situation. So, for people to hear like even just the differences of, well, what's different between online tutoring and that? Those are great topics to be able to write about.
Or when we say online, we don't mean that, like what you just described, right? It's like, definitely. Yeah. Great topics. Yeah.
Watch everybody who's here right now. They're gonna like go like you're gonna go home and you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna start writing about this. Like, I'm inspired. Yes.
Yes.
I love it. The formatting now for blogging is also different too, isn't it? Because those perfect paragraphs go out the door. because of
yes.
white space. Why is white space so important when it comes to blogging? And why shouldn't I write in very long, big paragraphs?
Okay, well, first our eyes tire, right? Our eyes tire and we need a lot of white space and background. Secondly, it's just psychologically overwhelming. Like you see these big blocks of text and you think, oh, am I going to be able to get through that? You know, I don't have the time to do all of that reading. It doesn't capture people visually either. Like we like to see things that have more white space, but also bold lettering in there and bullet points, because a lot of people, they don't read things word by word.
They skim and scan.
It's that skim and scan. And this is especially true in blogging.
Mm-hmm.
And because maybe they're only looking for parts of two certain questions that they have, and they don't want to spend the 5 minutes to read the blog post or the 3 minutes.
Which is smart. I mean, they're using good reading practices. I mean, who wants to read about the stuff they don't need to know about? Yeah, I do that all the time. I'll skim and I'll be like, oh, yep, there's the heading. That's the section I need to read. So like those visual clues really guide your reader into where to find the information that they might be the most interested in.
And it's digestible.
Mm-hmm.
It's really digestible. Mm-hmm.
Especially when you add like those images and stuff in there too that help clarify your points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hits all the different people, what appeals to them, because some are drawn to the photo first and then they go to read the caption.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely you're hitting different audiences as you prepare, but definitely digestible. And it's true, like we do it. Like if we read a caption on an Instagram and it's just like paragraphs and paragraphs, you're done. You're not going to read it. But if they give you some white space, like Suzanne is saying, oh yeah, I don't want to hear about that. I know that. I'm going to move down to I find what I want. So
That's perfect. All right. So I want to know, I know we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but how has blogging increased your brand awareness and gotten either increased your brand awareness or gotten you students?
Traffic to my website. I get it because of my blogging. So specific blogs, and I can see where certain things speak to people. So it just, in fact, I include a blogging tab in my Instagram too, because they get to, there are videos of me and interviewing and things, but they also get to hear like my writing voice as well. So it's kind of another way to introduce people to you and not to make people feel so intimidated by you, because as a mom, and you're going to go to a professional, it can feel intimidating. And if you can speak from that, like a mom's point of view, though you're a tutor, then you can really like reduce that affective filter, that stress that a parent feels. I mean, we do feel it. Oh, I'm going to talk to the teacher and she's going to throw all these words at me.
Yes. And you know what? I think this is what makes us such a commodity. Tutors like you as me that are so personable and relatable, and we're not sitting here from a blame position,
Lofty.
but an empathetic look. Even the parents who've done everything right have kids who struggle. So don't feel like this is you, that like it's your fault that your child is struggling.
You're the only one.
Or you're the only one going through this, right? And I've sat in many a parent-teacher conference where it was, being talked at, right? And there's such a big difference. And it doesn't feel good to be on that side of things. So I can see why parents have that fear to go into that position. It's just, it's not very welcoming, and it doesn't feel very good. And
but even going through a bigger company and getting a tutor, and you never know who you're going to get. So you haven't heard their voice. You haven't interacted with them through writing or video. Definitely changes things for a parent as far as what they get.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, blogging has helped me do both. With the brand awareness, it's because I've written so much content out there, people find me and associate me with different topics. So they associate me with research papers, which is not the most exciting thing to be associated with. But that's what a lot of people find me for, because I've written a lot on that. And so it builds up that expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can find yourself mentioned, in Facebook groups like, oh, such and such knows this, or check out this person, that helps you overall. That's growing your business. And then as far as clients, I've had clients that come to me in a consultation, and I'm not kidding you. It almost like blew my mind. He had stacks of paper of different blog posts he had printed out, and he was like, oh,
What a compliment.
I liked this, and he highlighted all these things he learned from my blog posts. So, and he's like, I want to work with you. You're the super tutor in this. And
you're the best.
I hope I'm as good as my writing.
Simply the best.
We need a song. But it does refine you as a tutor. Like, I am
Yeah.
not the same person I was in person, because there's a lot of things that I hadn't thought through. It was like, oh, I have a degree, I have a master's, I'm the teacher. But in person, I've had to refine my skills, my strategies, what I think about things and how I approach things. So being an online tutor has changed me professionally. I just can't say enough. And the writing has done that for me. So when now I have conversations, at a free assessment with a client or a parent, I'm like, ooh, this, she might ask a question. I'm like, ooh, I remember I wrote the blog, and I have the words because I've already thought it through and processed the question.
Yeah.
And now I'm having the conversation. And so you're actually creating your own content so that you can have that conversation even live. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Like, it's almost like helped clarify your wording to speak your truth with that parent.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
I love that. So what advice would you give someone who is thinking about blogging?
Do it.
Definitely don't say you're going to do it and just learn, right? Actually learn and write.
Yes.
You have to do those two things, because the one mistake I've seen people make is, they'll be in that learning phase forever with blogging, because they're scared maybe of their writing skills or of pressing publish. So, don't be scared, because there's plenty of people like you. Don't need the super high levels of writing, but make sure as you're learning your writing,
and you do that, Suzanne. You make us write. Like she'll say during our session, okay, 10 to 12 minutes of writing or whatever time she sets. And I'm like, so we write right now? Yep. Right now, get to it. So it's like, So yeah, we're encouraged to do it on the spot. And, not something we're going to do in the future, but you're making us apply what you're teaching us. And I love that. That's what keeps me coming back.
Oh, thank you.
And I love that, because sometimes we don't have time to fit it into our schedule. At least we think we don't have time. And so when we're given those free opportunities to be able to do that, it makes that time. It's like, oh, all right. Yeah, I'll use this time to write. Yeah, let's do it. I need a little Suzanne in my life so that I can be writing a little bit more of my Clubhouse book.
I just want to say,
I learned
Suzanne,
that with my students. Like, okay,
I just want
I'm
Suzanne to
right
get
there
on
at the same
Zoom. Get on Zoom, Suzanne, and just open Zoom, and we all sit there and tell us right.
Those are called write-ins. There is a name.
They exist. They exist.
They exist.
Yes. And then you write down how many words
I've participated in them for 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
People on YouTube, saying, okay, we're going to write for 10 minutes and let's use this as the prompt. And, you find you're doing it for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's amazing. First time I saw one of those, I was like, literally, this girl has how many views, and she's just sitting there writing. She's not saying anything. Like, are you kidding me?
I thought, if only I was, that brave to be on for 2 hours writing.
Did you just sit in nature, have the camera on her, and be like, today we're going to write about
Suzanne,
blank.
do it. I'll sit with you. Because I just feel like it's incredible how much we'll stare at someone else do what we need to be doing, like cleaning or organizing or decorating.
Well, and you know what? I think it's so easy too to be a passive learner versus an
Yeah.
active learner. We were grown up in a passive learning environment. If you went to the public school education here in
Yes.
America, you sit in the chair, you listen to your teacher, you do as they say. It's not a very active approach to learning. And then as we become adults, we continue that practice. We read books, but we don't take action. You know, it'll even break down steps we need to take, and we skip over that part. We just go to the next chapter, and we keep giving ourselves information, or we watch YouTube after YouTube about the topic, but then we don't actually do it. So this puts you in the active mode of participating, because you can't get better by just learning. But if you don't take the opportunity to learn, then you don't know what to put into practice. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You got to put them both in peace. So for those of you who have not seen yet that we are going to be inside of, on Monday, we're doing a free webinar, and it is called How to Become an Effective Blogger Even If Writing Isn't Your Thing. Because it's a really great way to drive traffic to your website. Like, even if that's the only reason that you do it. Okay? Seriously, like, your website is not going to get found on accident. Nobody's going to bump it. I had so many people who tell me, oh yeah, I have a website up. It doesn't do anything for me. I said, well, are you doing anything to promote your website? Because like those days of like me creating a website and people just finding it, those were gone in like 2004, maybe. I don't know. But they've been gone for a really long time. Nobody's going to bump into your website on accident if you're not telling people and pointing people to your website. So you got to have many places that are pointing to it. So this is just one great easy way to point people to it without being salesy, right? It kind of takes that salesy effect kind of out the door. You might have a next step, or you might have a call to action that says sign up for a free consultation, but that's not really salesy, right? That's an opportunity for them that if you didn't put that on there, that would be a missed opportunity. So on that blog page, make sure you have that button where they could take that, whatever that next step is for you. Free assessment, free consultation, free chat. I don't care what you call it. Make sure that button is there. That made huge difference for you too, didn't it, Suzanne, when you made sure that you had that button on your blog page?
Yes, it did. I was like, why didn't I put that? Joanne looked at my website and she's like, here's your sidebar. Why don't you have that button right up there at the top for people to be able to do that? Yeah. I had people booking like more consultations than I could keep up with.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, isn't it amazing how like those little tweaks make
It's
such
the
a huge
little
difference?
things.
Yeah. The little things sometimes. And then all of a sudden she had just a whole bunch like booming on in, which was awesome. What's some other advice that you could give people that they're thinking about blogging? They're unsure.
Well, you have a purpose as a tutor to blog. You have a lot to say, and part of the social proof that we provide, because I mentioned, I don't know where we were talking, and that before you were hired by a neighbor who told a neighbor, and they knew you were the teacher in the neighborhood, and it just kind of like spread. But now you're trying to spread beyond your community, and they don't know anything about you. And I don't think people understand that. Sometimes I'll see people saying, hire me, but there's so many people saying that. Like, how do I know who's right for my child? And it's not just about a price, because I think people put a lot on price. It's more than that. It's like, what is this person like? Will this person match the personality of my child, or maybe be able to guide my child because my child's difficult, to tutor? So you're giving you're telling them about who you are, but you're doing it through your writing and the way that you say things, and the way, like if your target audience are homeschoolers, you would never want to come across as like, well, I know more than you do.
No.
Right. And sometimes people's posts and writings can sound that way, like, you don't know what you're doing, and so let me teach you. And it's not like that, because I'm on both sides. I'm a homeschool mom as well.
Yeah.
And so there are other factors that make it difficult to accomplish a set goal. And so being able to speak to those things because you can't have all this conversation at a sitting. So if they're seeing you, they're warming up to you. They're like, I like the way she sees this. Oh, she sees it from a mom perspective. I know I always tell people I taught my children to read, but they all read at different ages, 4, second grade, and we're not sure how the last one learned, So I've been in that place as well. So you make yourself more relatable.
Yeah. And here's the thing, you guys, if you have negative feelings at all towards people who homeschool for whatever reasons, like other biases and things that kind of play a part in it, they're not your ideal client. You'll never be able to speak to them. You have such strong biases that you are going to repel them with a 6-foot pole, and they are going to stay as far away from you as they possibly can. So you never want to put like those kinds of things. You have to look at it from an empathetic point of view. And if you can be empathetic and understanding, people who choose to homeschool, they have every right in the world to choose to homeschool their children. They're not bad people. They're not bad parents. They don't always think badly about the school system. It's a personal choice, and they have that right.
And everybody has gaps. Homeschool students, public school students, private school students. I don't know where we got the idea that, if you go through this one system, then you come out all knowing. Not true.
So not true. I've seen so many homeschooling kids that are just phenomenal. Phenomenal. You're just like, but you don't ever hear about them because they don't go through the educational system, right? They're still doing their homeschool. But it's, I just want to kind of put that on out there, because if you have even if you have any negative, I had one person that she wanted to get people that were high school parents, and she wanted to write a blog post about how there should be no cell phones in the classroom. And I thought, okay, you're still in the classroom and you're approaching this from a classroom teacher perspective. You are not approaching this from the parent struggles and the parents' problems. And so there's this switch that needs to happen inside of our brain. You are going to repel the people you're trying to attract into your funnel if you have that kind of content. So you want to think about what content is going to be important and serve your ideal client in a loving and empathetic manner, not in a judgmental way or anything. It's like, just kind of keep that perspective as you're doing your writing.
Yeah, I always say to people, write in a helpful way.
Yes.
Come from that place of, I want to help you. And then you've got a good blog post, right? It's
absolutely
not your place to make a speech about something. It's about helping somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get off your soapbox. If you have a soapbox, don't get on it with your ideal client.
No.
And again, if your opinions are that strong, you have to rethink who your ideal parent or client or student is going to be, right? So that you can come from that place of love, kind, and careness. And not be seen as like this really strict, rule-laden kind of person. Nobody wants to work with a person like that. How much time do you need to invest? And I say invest because it is an investment in your marketing and your branding. How much time do you need to invest in your blogging?
You need to schedule it. That's the only way. And it doesn't have to be an exact time, but it can be a time of the day. I feel like I need to put it on my calendar, or it's not going to happen unless I sat with Suzanne. That's why I enjoy our Friday.
I would say it takes me about an hour to write a blog post, and then an hour, with the editing and publishing aspect. And then I do create images, and sometimes, but I use Canva. I have certain templates that speed up that time. So my blog post photo, it's always the same basic style. All I'm doing is changing the headline and swapping out a different picture. So that doesn't take very long. And think of it with your calendar, right? Joanne always says this, schedule you want student A at this time, student B at that time. And when you see those holes where, hey, you don't have student B, that's time for your blog.
In the beginning, we should be putting in more time. right?
Yes.
In the beginning, we should be putting as much, if you don't have a lot of clients and you don't have another job, but like you're trying to like grow this thing and you're at that point. Yes, like you need to be like putting as much time as you possibly can into getting those students, and blogging is one of those ways. So
that helped me, Joanne. That helped me with you mentioning that during the pandemic, as I was wanting to add more online students that were not from in person. I really wanted to prove myself that I could pick up only online students that had found me through social media or my blogging or website. And that's what I did. I just said, I want to work these many hours. I don't have them yet. So I'm going to sit here. I'm either going to blog, I'm going to create my Canva templates, post. And so I really, and sometimes my husband and children would come in and, are you tutoring? No, I'm working. I'm working until it became that. And then you already have a lot of content. So as you grow your students, then you're going to do less of it. You're not going to be as aggressive, right? You're going to do a little less of it.
yeah, absolutely. Until that word of mouth grows to the point where then you're done. You don't even need to advertise anymore. So keep it going. Book yourself solid. If you suddenly you're like, gosh, I just keep getting book solid now all the time. I don't have to work. Then you know that, okay, I don't have to invest as much time in my other marketing endeavors. So I think that's really great. Like, it does take me about an hour to write a blog post as well, and an hour to format. And that does not mean you're done yet, because now you have to get the blog out there. So now you got to write the email that the blog exists. You got to put it on, your Facebook business page, create an image for it for Instagram. So, it really can be formatted in any way that you want. Think about how often you want to blog. Do you want to blog once a month or twice a month? The first week could be all about like writing the blog, and the second week could be all about promoting the blog. And then the next week after that, you're doing all the steps for creating the blog. And the week after that, you are spreading the word about your blog. Longer blog posts seem to do better than like short, like teeny weeny little blog posts, don't they?
Yes.
Suzanne's right about that. She teaches us how to.
The idea of microblogging on your website, it just doesn't work.
I know we were writing something. We were writing, and someone asked me to proofread, and I was like, she's like, I feel like I need more. And I was like, I think it sounds good. She's like, no, Suzanne said at least 1,500 or 1,200 words. I can't remember what she said. And then I was like, that's when I was first having a mind shift about how to blog. And it seemed like a lot, but really what Suzanne is teaching us is that to sound like we know our stuff, we need to be putting out more, and not just a thought, not just a caption that you would put on Instagram or whatever, that it has to prove that you know what you're talking about. And so now I know that that's what you need to do.
All right. But I say 1,000 to start. I aim for more than 1,000. But I think 1,000 is a good starting point for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And if you're sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, I can't write 1,000 words, Esme will tell you that you can write a lot even in just 10 minutes.
Yes, 200 to 300 words. Yes, it's wonderful.
That's why you can write a whole blog post in an hour.
Right.
Yeah. Or you can break that up. You can say, okay, I'm going to spend 15 minutes today writing, and 15 minutes another day, and for 4 days, and come up with it.
And you teach us that. You teach us how to break down, how to work on on a blog. And I think my biggest mental block was the formatting. I don't know why, but I would start with the formatting first instead of the writing. And finally, Suzanne broke me out of that and said, no, just do your free writing, and then you can think of the formatting. So that really relaxed me. So there's always going to be anything we do. There's always going to be something that's holding you back, whether it's, I'm not a good writer, or I'm a good writer, but I'm so scared of the formatting. So I would leave that blog for a long time because I didn't want to tackle the formatting. So, Suzanne is a person of procedure, and I buck order like that. I'm like, I'm going to skip, I'm going to move fast forward on the video. I'm like that. And so it's I have to be okay, think, process, do it this way, so you're not overwhelmed.
Right.
Those of us that are free spirit like that, then we grow overwhelmed and then we don't do it because we don't want to. In fact, I think I told someone or my group for Jumpstart, if you're used to not following directions, this is not the time to behave out because it's a game changer to follow the steps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're going to be opening up your class soon, Suzanne. I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. Yes.
So those of you guys who have those of you guys who've not been a part of Suzanne's class, you're going to have an opportunity to join her class next week. The doors will open on Monday. We also have the free training that we are doing on Monday, so definitely come join Suzanne and myself for that. It's going to be amazing, and just even if you don't want to check out those other things, just keep writing. It's really going to get the word on out there about what it is that you do. You can do this. Sometimes it's a mental block more than an actual writing block.
Reality.
About 90% of the time it's a mental block.
Yes. And don't worry. In the beginning, the grammar police will not be out there because nobody will be reading your stuff in the very beginning. So
no, that's the part we don't get. Everyone didn't just read your blog because you published it.
Yeah. No, I was begging for people to read my blog in the beginning.
Right. So we'll be sharing tactics and strategies on, what do you do so that you can get more people blogging in? And what do you do so that your grammar and all that kind of stuff is intact where it needs to be? We'll be sharing all of those kinds of details on Monday. So definitely come join us for that. Sign up inside of the chat. We can't wait to see you. Thanks for joining us today, you guys, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.